This is Kyle. That is Laura. This is He Said, She Said. Laura, happy pre-eve voting, presidential election. Tomorrow is the day.
Tomorrow is the day. Vote is the big word. Just get out there and vote.
I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I think they open here in Georgia at 7. Because I don't have all day to sit in line. I got a job.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do it first thing, too. I don't want to be in line either.
Yeah, so, all right. Somebody tomorrow is going to be a very happy man. We'll see who that is. So we're going to continue talking tonight about the blog series that I'm in the middle of, that I'll be taking a break after this week and writing some other stuff. But the 7 battles every single parent must win. The one we talked about last week was entitlement, and we had some good discussion about that. So we're going to turn a little bit tonight and talk about something that everyone understands, and that's anger. So I'm sure that anybody can appreciate, if you've ever been through a divorce, anger.
You know, there was a lot of anger for a lot of different reasons, right? And my divorce took a really long time. My decision to divorce took a really long time to arrive at, including 4 years of, you know, marriage counseling and the whole bit. And in that time frame, there was a lot of anger, you know, and it morphed in a million different ways. And in the end, you know, in the post-divorce, you're asking me post-divorce, yeah, it was like, how could I be so stupid to stay in something that was not right for me for so long?
Right.
That part. But in there was a lot of anger. And it balled up into like a big old hatred eventually. It ended up to be just a hatred.
Of him.
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda. I wasn't angry during the marriage. I wasn't angry really during the separation and into the divorce itself, where it was finalized, outside of anybody who's been through it understands the feelings of you have no control, right? You just, everything is coming at you at once, and you just feel like you're totally out of control. I think all of that really was fine too. Really, for me, the anger that I ultimately had to deal with was delayed. And it really didn't take root for probably a year to a year and a half. And it really began as my children started getting older, because they were very young when it started. So they really were saved a lot of the emotional damage that children experience. So I didn't have to witness that. But when they began to get older, and I began to see how this new life that they had, it weighed on them in their own way. You know, being 5 and 8 years old, it began to show some signs of challenge for them. And I think that's when it started for me, because I began to see the frustration. I began to see the confusion. They never questioned it. They never asked, well, why is this? Why is that? Because they had always been that way. They didn't know any different. They did realize that their life wasn't kind of the same as all their friends, but they rolled with the punches. But just sitting there and witnessing that, and then, children talk, and they talk about what's going on at mom's house or dad's house, and you hear those stories, and you're just like, that's not the way that it should be happening. That's when it started for me.
I don't have a hatred for my ex-husband. During the divorce, before the divorce, I was angry at, this. I felt I was sold a wrong bill of goods, a bill of goods that didn't stand up. But that's tricky because when I went back and really looked at it, he didn't sell me a bill of goods that wasn't real. I just wasn't looking for the right things. And so that's where like that anger at myself was like, I made a bad decision for me. It wasn't the right decision for me. So I can, I have to accept that anger. But yet I do hold a lot. I have, much like you and almost everyone I talk to, there is that recurring anger at this is not the way it's supposed to be. Both as it relates to my kids, as it relates to, every time somebody's celebrating their 25th anniversary,
Right.
and I'm like, oh shit, whatever.
Right.
Every time it's kind of like, okay, yeah, right. And so it's, I think for me, it's become less of a feeling of anger. But then again, you know what? I've done a real lot of work on not allowing it to take hold of me because, as I think we're going to talk about, it can it can really suck you in. And when it does, all bad things happen.
Be quite honest, as I think I usually am, that I would pour out my wrath every chance I got, in any way that I could. I can be a very demeaning person. I can talk down to you. I can make you feel really small really quickly, and it was my way of getting back.
And did you do it to her?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And, as embarrassing as it is for me to say that, I'm not through that yet. I think I've come a lot farther than I was 4 or 5 years ago, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I've got it all dialed in because I don't. And, it's something that I have to continue to work with on a daily basis because obviously that relationship, it will continue at least for the next 10 years. So I've got to make the very best of it that I possibly can. And, because it's a long ride until, that final cord is broken. And it's clearly put me in a situation where I've said things and even done things, just behavior-wise that I wish that I wouldn't have done. And it was all because I was mad. I was pissed. And, what better way than to try to, misery loves company. So you know what? If I'm going to be mad, then you're going to be mad too.
I think I got to the point a couple of years ago where I just became too exhausted from being angry. I just got tired, and no matter what I would do, no matter what I would say, he didn't care about it, and which is fine. And he didn't need to care. He wasn't supposed to care anymore, I guess. But
no, he's not.
Exactly. So there was a moment that I just said, I gotta let go of this because I am exhausted. And it was annoying. I was annoying myself. I was like annoying myself with how much I was holding on to this like utter frustration and exasperation with him.
So was it just simply you making the choice that, listen, this is getting me nowhere? Was it that simple?
No, I don't want to. It feels for now, looking back, like it was that simple, but it wasn't that simple. Part of it was my kids, right? So part of it was I didn't want to be that bitter mom who like constantly was not getting along with their dad, and they would say, you and dad, you guys just can't get along. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I can't get along with someone? Like I'm a fucking adult. Like really, I can't get along with someone? And I was like, all right. It just, as they got older and they were like, I could see them being stressed out whenever he and I were in the same place. I was like, you know what? That's just, that's shitty. And so I just kind of, he wasn't going to do it, so I did. I just surrendered. I think I just surrendered one day, and I just said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this, and I'm done. I'm done having an attitude with him. I'm done not saying hello to him because he doesn't say hello to me or all this stupid shit. I'm done. So I just put on my, my shit-eating grin and just started changing things up. And you know what? My life dramatically improved in every conceivable way. It started to dramatically improve when I started disengaging from my emotion around him.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do? Did you just begin to treat it like a business?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I started to get more in touch with how I felt about being a mother, how I felt about being a woman and a person. And listen, bad behavior speaks for itself, right? So I figured the shit I couldn't stand about him, the stuff that I was so angry at him about, the differences in who we are, our different values, our different parenting, our different blah, blah, blah. I just decided I'm going to just be me, full out, full on, all by my lonesome self. I'm just going to do it. And we'll see where the chips fall. And you know what? Things have worked out okay for me. You know, my kids, listen, our kids know who we are. They're not stupid or blind. They see all of it. So they know who I am and they know who he is. And they know why I would be angry at many things and vice versa. So I didn't have to focus on it anymore. There was no more benefit, right, to hanging on to it.
I'm sure that you meet with lots of your clients who are just, to use a southern phrase, fit to be tied. They are just fired up, just tighter than a banjo string, right? So what advice do you give these women when they just have this unrelenting white-hot rage that they just can't seem to get by? And it affects everything and everyone around them because they are just so upset. What do you say to these women?
You know what? We kind of go the business route, right? So so what's the benefit for you? What's to carry on that, to carry that much anger and to act it out? Is there a benefit? I mean, if there truly is a benefit, which usually there's not, if there truly is a benefit, then, we got to explore that. But usually there's not a lot of benefit. And there's always a cost, right? There's always a cost. And angry people are angry people, right? Who wants to be around angry people? It's okay for a short amount of time, right? Early on, we're processing, we're like enraged, we need to do our rage thing, and I get that. But there's a point at which there's a huge cost and very little to no benefit. And with anything else in life, you kind of have to step back and eventually look at it in that way. And if you want to choose to go with the high cost, low benefit route, all right, but it doesn't make much sense.
As I was thinking about this, I really wanted to try to summarize what I thought I have been doing to kind of deal with this over these years. And my response is a little bit more metaphysical on the one end. And this is going to sound hokey, but I think it's absolutely true, Laura. For me, you've got to think to yourself, there's got to be a reason why it went down like this. There has to be. If I thought for a moment that there was not some bigger purpose behind my kids going through this, I'd probably want to kill myself. All right, and I'm being completely sincere. I mean, to think for a moment that this has all just happened because it happened, I don't buy that. I do believe that things happen for a reason, and I think that we have to look at it that way. Otherwise, we will always carry the victim, and we'll never get over our anger. All right, I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is that we have to recognize the opportunities that this new life provides for us, and they'd be willing to do something about it. All right? I can tell you now that I am not the same man that I was before. I've had the opportunity in the last 8 years to grow as a person, to grow as a father. I am absolutely convinced that that would have never happened had I still been in a toxic relationship and marriage. So when you take a look at it from those two angles, that anger is going to begin to melt away. Otherwise, you won't be able to see those two things, right? Does that make sense?
There's no question.
I don't know of any other way for me. I don't know any other way to do it. I really, really don't, because otherwise you'll continue to have this anger, which turns into resentment, and then obviously it just goes completely off the rails from there. So for me, I believe there's got to be a reason behind it, and then I want to take advantage of the opportunities and be able to recognize those opportunities that have presented to me now. You know, the man that's been married or the woman that's been married for 25 years, and this is her opportunity for the first time maybe in her life to really have a sense of independence that she's never had before. You can be angry about what you lost, or you can really embrace what you now have.
Right.
That choice is yours.
I would have never known a relationship like I have now in my marriage. I would have never experienced the kind of joy, and I don't use that in the kind of skipping through, flowers joy, but I mean, I'm really happy in my relationship, in my life. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And it's certainly not what I always thought it would be, or what I feel like it was supposed to be. And my kids will continue to say, that I ruined their life. We ruined their life. I'm used to it. They will never be happy. I accept that.
Right.
I accept that. I have to believe, as you do, that there's a benefit to them to seeing me happy now and being the woman and mother that I know that I'm supposed to be and I'm meant to be, than having stayed in the marriage, letting them be in an intact family, but not being the kind of mother and woman that I was meant to be. I have to have faith. I do have faith and trust that, well, they will always, they'll land on somebody's couch, undoubtedly, talking about how I ruined their life. There's no question about it. I'm prepared for it. I can set that up. But that, on the other hand, I know I'm teaching them things through my own growth that they need to know to have the kind of life that they desire. And I have to imagine it's the same for you.
One final parting thought for you concerning anger, divorce-specific anger.
Here's how I feel about it. Embrace it for a little. Give yourself a time. Give yourself a month, a week, a year, whatever you want to give it. Give yourself, get permission to be angry, because you know what? There's a lot of reasons to be angry. I get that. But then you have to call quits. You have to, if you actually want to move forward, you're going to have to let go of the anger. You can't have the anger and have your new life too. Can't do it.
Right.
Not possible.
Right. So I've said this before, and people don't understand it, but until we as individuals take our own part of the responsibility in why the marriage failed, you'll always be angry at the other person, because you can't be angry at them when you recognize you were also at fault. You have to be angry at yourself too, right? You've got to own up to the part that you played in it. That one thing alone, from my own story, will do more in helping you settle your anger than anything else. If you don't believe me, try it, because it will work. It worked for me, and I was as mad as anybody. And it helped me really move on. It helped me in so many ways, but really anger was one of those that it was like somebody turned a light switch on.
I totally agree. I absolutely agree with you.
So, Laura, as always, it's been wonderful. Happy voting tomorrow.
Happy election.
Have a good one. See you soon. Bye.